And welcome back to another installment of the ongoing review series of Mortal Kombat Legacy, the Machinima web series. Today we're looking at Episode 8, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, Part 2. Now, this one is very similar in most respects to Episode 2 of the series, where we had, Jax and Kano and Sonya fight after kind of the background was given in Episode 1. You could probably look at episodes 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 as kind of sister and companion pieces. And looking at now both parts 1 and 2 for both of these, I'd have to say I wish they all kind of fell into this. Overall, this episode was exactly what you wanted. You wanted to see Scorpion and Sub-Zero fight each other. You wish the fight went on longer. That is, again, another issue. But overall, fairly good, and the costumes probably for these two are the ones that are the best in this series thus far, although I think they could have done a little bit more, as I said in the previous installment, a little bit more how they are in the games. If I were to go over the plot here, not a whole lot to say after all. We have another minute and a half recap, which is kind of unnecessary I think for this type of series, but it pads out the film. Then we can kind of get right into the fight. We get to see some classic moves done. The fight is probably the most Mortal Kombat-like of all the fights thus far. It started off like the most in episode 7, where, we had the Scorpion getting thrown through the frozen corpse of the Shogun. But in this one we see, Sub-Zero shooting off ice balls. He's causing ice spikes to come out of the ground after Scorpion. And of course, Scorpion does the get over here move. Only he does it in Japanese. And really, if you're going to do it, you really have him throw it, have him stuck, have Sub-Zero stuck in there, have him really shout it out, get over here! They could have done it in English. I mean, they did the Scorpion thing in English, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think Scorpion in Japanese is Scorpion. So if you already done that, you can get the get over here in English, and you could have at least really shouted it out. And in this, he really didn't do it. He kind of just, get over here. Ugh. What? I don't know. It's the one little area I think they kind of messed up on this, but that's a minor, really, complaint for, especially considering this series and the complaints I've had in the past. It's kind of a minorish one. Anyway, so Scorpion does that. He does the get over here to Sub-Zero, and instead of finishing off, he decides to just run away, run back to the village, running over or jumping over frozen corpses on his way to find his wife and child frozen to death. She's kind of like breaking apart if he touches him. And then Scorpion comes up and, rams a sword through him. Like I said, Scorpion probably should have finished him off there. You could have just crushed his head, snapped his neck. He was laying there passed out. Wouldn't have taken more than 2 seconds. But I guess it's live and learn, or in this case, die and learn, and then become undead. Which is pretty much what happens. Scorpion's frozen, and then it's revealed that this particular Sub-Zero was not Sub-Zero, but Quan Chi. And I do have to say, the makeup job on Quan Chi is not that good. It does look like kind of a poorly... Let's just get some white makeup and put it over his face and some weird red. Just generic red makeup and put that part on there, so it doesn't really even look like a tattoo. He does have the red marks on his face like he's supposed to have, but they look painted on. They don't look like they're like tattooed on. And there are techniques that they could have done for that. Like they could have put another layer of makeup on top of that layer of makeup in order to make it look like it was a little bit more embedded into the skin. Unless they were trying to go for the look like this was just a painted on look, kind of like Celtic warriors, but they're really supposed to be tattoos. Compared to Shao Kahn, it's not that bad, but he still kind of looks a little stupid how he is. Like again, that is not a huge budget issue. It shouldn't take that much more money to just make that makeup look a little bit better. Uh, and of course, Shang Tsung's there, and he wants, he's revealed that he wants Scorpion to fight for the Nether Realm. You'd think you'd want him to fight for Outworld, not the Nether Realm, but what the hell? And of course, Scorpion comes back. He breaks out of his ice thing, and his eyes are flaming. He's like, "I am now Scorpion." Eh, what can I say? I almost kind of wish it was a little bit more like. Well, you know what? I'm gonna say I was about to go onto a little tangent here, but I think I'm going to save that tangent for my full series recap. Which will be coming up after the next season, or at least after the next episode, because I think that's at least end of season 1, as they're calling it, and I'll get into all that as well. There's not a whole lot to really talk about this episode. It is basically, a 5-minute finisher to the previous one. Yeah, there's fighting, and then there's the quick plot points I talked about. Pretty much everything else I would have to say was covered in the previous one. It's still one of the better episodes. Really, so far we've got episodes 1 and 2, and 7 and 8 really are the best of the series so far. The Melina and Katana Melina, probably the worst thus far, but it'll be interesting to see next week. Next week when we have, Cyrax and all that stuff with the robots. I'm curious how that's going to turn out, only because I heard they're going to do them CGI. That's what I heard, not necessarily true. And, I'm not going to have a whole lot of faith in, if they decide to go the CGI route, how good it's going to look. I mean, if it comes out and they have worse graphics than the actual video games, it's a little bit of an issue. Especially when, they could have just put people in the costumes. They did it in the Mortal Kombat movies. That's how they got the original capture footage for the games, was making a costume. Again, this is kind of all more stuff I'll hit on with the overall recap, but thus far this episode's pretty good, and I'll try to end it now because I'm going on just about as long as the actual episode takes. So, signing off for now. I'll be back next week with episode 9's review.